just dive into all the information that you can get and just use the tools that you have. But I also recognize that not every platform is like LinkedIn and has all the information to help you with targeting. So from this point of view, it's even more important to have good foundations when you start working on a social media strategy or when you start working on social media content for a brand.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Retail Edition, your go-to guide to solving your biggest retail social media marketing challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Allton, and each episode is an honest and frank look at what marketers go through, from awful algorithms to terrific trends and ideas that you can apply to your own business. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Retail Edition, where we're digging into the challenges, successes, and stories of social media and community professionals in the industry just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, as retailers, we know that segmenting audiences works. We group similar items together in our stores alongside other items that would be of interest to the same shoppers. Yet, for some reason, when it comes to social media, all too often, we think too broadly about our planned activities and strategies. We assume that everyone on social media at that very moment is a potential customer. Why is audience identification and targeting so important on social media? And how can we get started as social media and community managers? That's exactly what Chiara Gianelli is going to talk to us about. Chiara launched A Matter of Nourishment with a clear goal to help people improve their relationship with food. Initially, she focused on educating people with recipes, photos, and useful tips. However, this quickly expanded as she discovered something missing in the food, beverage, and wellness market. Brands were struggling to stand out and compete. Pretty yet soulless visuals weren't cutting it. They needed to serve a strategic purpose and tell a story. Whether through attention-grabbing visuals or scroll-stopping social media content, Chiara helps brands find their voice, tell their story, and connect with their audience. Hey, Chiara, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Great to be
Thanks so
here.
much for coming on. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. You're in Ireland, which is fantastic. I appreciate you coming on. This is late your time for me and us listening. But first, tell us a little bit more about the work that you do at A Matter of Nourishment and your experience working with retail brands.
So at a matter of nourishment, I cover different roles from social media managing and creating social media strategies to content creation. So I see a lot of different brands with different teams and different structure inside, like bigger teams with a marketing department and smaller companies with like one or two people behind the scenes doing everything. And during the years, I've been doing this for 7 years now. During the years, I've had the chance to work with many different brands in the food and wellness niche. The retail brands I work with were like very interesting experiences. Some of them were just starting out. Others, I was able to see their growth from like an online shop to a retail brand, and it was really nice to be part of their journey. And in other instances, I was able to support the brand with their journey through like trying to sell in a retail shop. So sometimes it's a little bit challenging because you have to apply for specific sort of like competition where you are challenged along with other brands. And then who sells more during the trial run then will be the chosen one to go on the shelves. So it was really nice to be able to define a strategy with them and find out the best way to tell their story through social media and reach their customer and manage to gain that spot on the shelf.
Wow, that's fantastic. I can't imagine having to go through that kind of a challenge just to win a gig. But we want to talk about audiences today. And I want to start by just having you help us understand why determination of audience is so important, particularly in social media.
So when I started doing this job, I was actually like, okay, it's obvious you need to know who you're talking to. For sure, when I approach brands, they will say like, yes, we have our target audience all outlined here. This is our document with all the info that you need. But it's not always the case. So I was really surprised to find out that some brands don't actually have an idea of who their target audience is, who like their target persona is. And so in those situations, I was able to help them define their target audience, their target persona, and really understand what was the goal there and who we were talking to. So everything we were doing from the strategy to content creation to every single word that we were posting on their social accounts were made for their target audience.
All right, so we're definitely going to get into this because I want to understand how that works exactly. I've been doing social media for a long time, let's say,
Mhm.
and I don't necessarily think about audience with every single post. But for the social media managers who are listening today, what do you think their key steps should be initially to identify their target audiences?
Even before that, I think it's important to have good communication with the brand. The social media manager needs to set some like foundation when they start to work with the brand to be sure that either the brand has already the info they need or the social media manager can collaborate with them to find out exactly who is their target audience.
Okay, so they're going to work with the brand. They're going to have clear communication to figure out, who the audience is.
Mhm.
Once they've determined that, having that knowledge,
Mhm.
how should that direction change the brand's approach to social media or content in general?
So once they have this information, it means that they will know what are the audience behavior, what they like to do online, offline, where they like to shop, especially for retail brands. This is a key information. If you live in an area where there are like bigger shops or smaller shops, you need to know where they, or like those that have more high brand items, so you need to know exactly where they shop, what they want to do, and what they want from their shopping experience. So let's say if we want to talk about a really key list for what they need from their social media target audience is like who they are, the age range, the habits, shopping habits, key for retail, online, offline, pain points, what they want, what they need. So once you have a better understanding of who they are, what they do, how they shop, their behavior, you actually are able to decide like this is what we want to post or this is not what we want to post because it's absolutely no interest. And this is important now for social media because there are so many trends that you might be tempted to jump on as well. And knowing who you're talking to helps you to say like, this is a trend that could be useful for me, or this is just a waste of time.
That is such a powerful point because when we're talking about audience segmentation and even personalization of content, often the mindset is how are we going to change this piece of content so that it speaks better to our audience? But you just said sometimes the answer is we shouldn't post that piece of content at all because it's not
Exactly.
going to resonate with the target audience. And that needs to be an option that's on the table. We don't necessarily have to post everything that comes to mind. We don't have to jump on every trend. So thank you for sharing that. I hope
Yeah.
that resonated with all of you listening because it's certainly struck home with me. But we're talking with Chiara Gianelli about having a strategic approach to social media that includes understanding and targeting the right audiences. It helps if you've got data to make these kinds of decisions, the kind of insights that Agora Pulse's reporting can offer you.
Actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agora Pulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agora Pulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agora Pulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
Chiara, some platforms like LinkedIn support targeting specific audience segments, whether by industry or geography. And if they don't, brands can identify who they're talking to in the content of the post. Do you recommend that level of targeting? Why or why not?
Yes, absolutely. If you have the opportunity to use that level of targeting, just dive into all the information that you can get and just use the tools that you have. But I also recognize that not every platform is like LinkedIn and has all the information to help you with targeting. So from this point of view, it's like even more important to have good foundations when you start working on a social media strategy or when you start working on social media content for a brand. When you have good foundation and you have your target audience and your target persona done and they're waiting for you every time you have doubts, you want to check something, they're there waiting for you, then you can have content that performs well and it's in line with your goals and what you want to achieve, whether you have the segmentation or not.
So recently we had one of the brand managers for JCPenney here on the show. JCPenney, if you're not familiar, is a large retail store based in the United States, mostly clothing, although they're a department store. So they have all kinds of items in there, which means their target audiences, there are many, right? There's women of certain ages, there's men of certain ages, kids, and so on. So if they're creating a particular piece of content and it's targeting, say, men my age, maybe it's they're talking about their new leather wallets and leather goods. I'm making this up, and they don't have the targeting in place. I mean, it's not an option, right, with the platforms that they're posting to actually segment that post. It's still okay, right, to have that kind of content that's very highly targeted to that, knowing that other audiences are going to see that. They can't help but not see it, right? If they post that to their Instagram account, a portion of their Instagram followers, regardless of whether they resonate with that, are going to see that. That's still okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can add different kind of targeting in caption, for example. You can add keywords, you can use hashtags, you can use location, or you can think this is something that people will share. So how can I possibly reach more of my target audience when they share my piece of content? So here comes like the content creation part. So it's really important that the photo, video, or image that you're using drives, it's there for your message, it's there to drive attention to your brand. There are a lot of little things that work to help you towards your goal. Yeah, it's absolutely challenging and it's really difficult to keep track of everything. That's why many social media managers now, they say and say again on social media that now you don't need a social media manager or a virtual assistant that will handle your socials. Now you need a team.
That is 100% true. And I'm glad you mentioned tracking because that leads into my next question. One of the issues and challenges with retail brands is tracking the performance of these social posts, particularly when we're segmenting them and we're targeting very, very specific audiences with each post, knowing then that it's not going to get broad reach and interest. That's okay because the end business result is usually something like a sale, or a click through to the website, something on those lines. How are you recommending or tracking on behalf of your clients today the business impact of social media? How are you approaching that?
So the very first thing I do is talking with the business owner or the marketing team and understand what are their goals, what they sell, and why they are in business in the first place. So sometimes this seems some odd questions because like social media manager tend to just go straight to the point. Okay, you need someone who will manage your social. I use my time very wisely when I start working with a client and try to get to know them very well. So this allows me to understand which will be our way to track conversion on social media, which will be our main things to watch. So, and this can change as well as I work with a client for several months, for example, because they may have a launch of something new, they might have an important announcement coming up, they might have a change in the company, a new product, something like that. So flexibility and communication are the key. And obviously knowing like your key performance indicators for social media, classic ones like click-through rate, the amount of engagement you get, and the amount of DM you get, and also be in touch with whoever is handling the website. If you have something that like in e-commerce as well, so you have the information like how are people acting when they go from social media to the website. Because otherwise you're just posting content for fun, basically, and you don't really have a social media page for business. Social media managers know that there are a lot of key performance indicators that are usually needed for a page, but I really like to define like what this brand needs. So this month, we are really focused on improving engagement for this and that reason. Or next month will be more focused on getting the click-through rate to a certain point because we have these reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned conversions. Are you using any particular tools to track conversions? And what other tools are in your tech stack? I always like to ask.
So doing both content creation and social media managing a strategy, I do have a quite a nice set of software and tools that I use to help my day-to-day activities. But for social media, I really started to love last year the interface of Airtable because it's really handy to use. And even when I have to share things with clients for approval, if they never used Airtable before, I just do a little 10 minutes overview and they immediately understand how it works. Another tool that I really like to use, it's called Hey Horka. I know it's not so super popular, or at least every time I mention that, like people are, what? But it's really nice. Do you know it?
Oh, I do. Absolutely.
It's really nice for like organizing your content, scheduling content, and also if you work with someone in a team or if you need approval from the client. It's really, really nice. And also for tracking your results as well, because I know that you can track results from directly from the social media platforms, but it's not the super easy way to do it. So far, I've tried so many different tools because I'm always looking for the best way and easiest way to do things, more efficient way, especially. And at the moment, I have Airtable, Ahorka, and of course, Canva for content creation, all things visual, and the Adobe Creative Suite like Lightroom, Adobe Rush, and Premiere Pro for content creation.
Awesome. Yeah, Adobe's fantastic. We'll be talking with them later on the show, in fact. But the last question I've got for you, Cara, is I want to know where you turn to keep up with this kind of stuff. We know social media is changing every single day. There's new platforms coming out. There's old platforms like TikTok that might be in danger, trends, all kinds of new tools like you mentioned. Are there any particular individuals, blogs, podcasts, courses that you turn to on a regular basis to help keep up?
So it's really difficult to keep up with everything. You need to like set some time aside to get all the updates you need from social media, like every week, like what's going on, how are things changing. So some resources that I really like to use are HubSpot and Sprout Social. HeyHorka also has a really nice newsletter and more resources on their website. And then there are, since I do speak Italian as well, there are some really nice marketing agencies who do an amazing job, but they are in Italian. So I am able to follow both of them, like the English speaking word and the Italian speaking word in marketing. And of course, like LinkedIn, you can always find some interesting posts. Just sometimes someone put a like or a comment, and then you discover a new expert in an area that you didn't know before. So when it comes to specific accounts or newsletter, lately I've been loving on Instagram an account specifically created for social media managers. It's called Sugar Punch Marketing. Really, really nice. She also sends a newsletter. So it's full of information for social media managers, updates, what's going on, and makes you feel a little bit less lonely. And then there is also a really nice newsletter. It's not specific for social media, but it's more marketing. It's called ARIYH. It's like academic research in your hands. It's really nice. It's the science behind marketing. So there is a newsletter and there is also like social media presence, so you can follow them on social media as well. I find the newsletter really useful because it's just there waiting for me in the inbox. They take scientific research and scientific publication talking about marketing to like point out, oh, it's better to use this button instead of this one. It's better to point out these instead of that if you want better conversion. I understand that it's not specific to social media, but like when you work in social media, you need to keep your eyes open on this kind of things, because even if it's not specifically for, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you learn a lot from these little marketing details, how to speak to people on social media, how to correct something in your image that will make people click more, that will make people stop while they're scrolling. There is so much to learn, so much to keep up with every week when it comes to marketing and social media. Sometimes feels a little bit overwhelming. I'm sure you will understand what I'm saying.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
couldn't agree more. And I love the tip about newsletters. I am religiously subscribed to a bunch of newsletters. That's how I start my day. And to your point, following key individuals and sources of news on social media is a fantastic use of those platforms, regardless of profession. Instagram, LinkedIn, great examples. And I love that you mentioned, just kind of drop that, oh, by the way, you're Italian, because yes, folks, she was born in Italy, and if you go to her website, which she's going to share with you in just a second, you can only find out about her agency. You can find some fantastic Italian recipes that I personally can't wait to try. Those of you know me know I've been cooking Italian since high school. I even have some Italian recipes on my own website. So we're going to talk about that afterwards. But Chiara, this has been fantastic. So many great resources you shared, folks. We'll have all the links in the show notes. But for those who want to learn more about you and follow you, where can they go?
So they can go on my website, matterofnourishment.com, or on Instagram with the same name, Matter of Nourishment is there, and my brand new page that I started trying to separate a little bit more things between more social media content and more food recipe content. It's called Nourishment Creatives. It's like a little creative hub where I talk about content creation and social media. I hope social media managers and food brands or wellness brands will find some useful tips there. It's super brand new. And also LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. And that's all we've got for today, folks. Don't forget to find the Social Pulse Podcast Retail Edition on Apple and drop us a review. I'd love to know what you think. Until next time, see ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Pulse Podcast Retail Edition, hosted by Mike Allton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.